Hey friends, it's Lee here from COR. And I've been thinking a lot recently about leadership. As I've mentioned recently, we're preparing for our leadership development training. And it gets my mind going about leadership, and I wanted to share something with you that I hope you'll find really valuable. I find that a really, really important concept in leadership, and something I think we're getting now fundamentally wrong. And when we get it fundamentally right, all kinds of leadership possibilities open up. This quote came across my desk the other day. I want to share it with you. It's from an evolutionary biologist named Heather Heying. I think I'm saying her last name correctly, I hope. She says, "The amazing rate of change we've created is itself deranging us and making it very difficult to understand and remember how to be human." Now, she's saying the culture we're in and what's going on around us and the kind of craziness of the world is causing us to forget how to be human. I think she's hit on something really profound that I've been thinking about for a while. We don't know who we are anymore. I think that's a fundamental problem. We can't lead, we can't live, we can't thrive if we don't know who we are. And what I mean is, I don't just mean I'm Lee, I like ice cream, I'm 5'10", I was born in blah, blah, blah. I don't mean just the subjective things that our ego loves. They're not bad things. I mean who we are as a human being. I think we've forgotten what it means to be human. And when we do that, lots of things happen. We disown our choices. We become indecisive. We allow life to happen to us in reactivity instead of claiming life. We move into passivity when we don't know who we are. We don't know what life is about. We don't know what the meaning of life is. We don't know what the purpose of life is because we don't know who we are. So we sit passively by, and from that place, we just react really badly and do all kinds of things that aren't good for us, that aren't productive for the world, that aren't human at our best. We feel disconnected from source, from grace. And, I think the main issue here, I'll give you a couple dynamics, and this is where I think we've gotten off. The number one thing we've forgotten is that we've forgotten that we are fundamentally good. That life is fundamentally good. That I as a human being am fundamentally good. You are fundamentally good. At COR, we call it essential goodness. This sounds really simple. I think culturally we've just ejected it. And when we personally get into this place of reactivity and giving up and losing ourselves, I think the first thing we've forgotten is that we're fundamentally good and that life is a gift and that we are valuable and the people with us in our lives are valuable. And because we forget our essential goodness, we stop trusting. We stop trusting our own goodness because we don't believe in it. We stop trusting the goodness of other people around us. We become what sometimes has been called masters of suspicion. We become suspicious of everyone, including ourselves. This is the fallout for not owning our goodness. We don't think we are good. We don't think we can do anything good. Now, this is the second dynamic. Stick with me here because I think this will all fit together. We are fundamentally good. And we have something we call at COR the human condition, which means with our fundamental goodness, we also drop the ball. We also do things we wish we wouldn't do. We also act badly. We also have a survivor self that acts out, right? Here's what I think the primary mistake is. We've gotten these two things backwards. When we lose ourselves, it's because we've switched these in priority. We don't think we're fundamentally good. We think we're fundamentally screwed, fundamentally valueless, fundamentally rotten, fundamentally evil, and everyone else is, right? And if we try hard enough, we can force some goodness in there. Do you feel the difference in that dynamic? I'm fundamentally suspicious of myself and everyone else, but if I try real hard, I can find some goodness and I can act good and I can pull some goodness out of you and maybe the world will be good. My friends, I can tell you that's fundamentally opposed to my experience and fundamentally opposed to the place that I think healthy leadership comes from. So, what do we do? What do we do about this? Well, this is what COR is all about, and here are a few things I want to share with you, right? First thing we have to do is reclaim the fundamental goodness of ourselves and our life and consider life as a gift, all right? That my life is a gift, life itself is a gift, and I am fundamentally good. If we don't do that, a couple things that come up is we go into control and blaming instead of being empowered and responsible, right? Control and blaming instead of empowered and responsible. Or we move into timid and passive rather than humble and surrendered, right? When we get it right, when we trust in our goodness, though there's this human condition that we have to navigate, when we trust in our goodness, we can move into humble and surrendered instead of passive. We can move into empowered and productive and clear rather than blaming and irresponsible. If we don't do this, the stakes are high. If we don't make this fundamental switch, the stakes are high. Well, firstly, we don't grow up because as human beings, we're made to grow up, and in our maturity, we get this fundamental goodness. But if we don't claim this, we always remain kind of teenagers, right? We lose our own vitality, which is our own life force, because who wants to live a life from this place? We become complacent and miserable, and we regret. We regret until probably the last day of our life, and we look back and go, oh man, that's a life of regret, right? And it's unlived potential, and that means whatever effect we would have had in the world didn't happen. Now, the solution. I know this is a pretty bleak picture, but I think this is the state we're in. But there's a solution. There's a path forward. Here it is. 2 things I want to offer to you and see where these might get some traction in your life. The first one is do things that connect you to your essential goodness. Do things that remind you of your essential goodness. Do things that allow you to claim for yourself, not from an egotistical place, from a place of reality and humility, your essential goodness. Number 1. Number 2, learn the tools and skills that help you navigate the survivor self. That's the human condition. That's, remember, essentially good, but with that essential goodness is all this other screwy behavior that comes out of the survivor self, that wants to be unraveled, that wants to be sorted out, right? So we can be happy. So both of those things are critical. Claiming my essential goodness and wisely and skillfully navigating the survivor self, that human condition that will tank us, right? When we do those 2 things, when we live in that goodness, and when we wisely and skillfully learn how to navigate the survivor self, the human condition in ourselves and others, that's where leaders are born. That's where leaders are born. So I hope this speaks to you, and I hope you get some sense of the reordering. And if it does, I invite you to join us for the COR Leadership Classroom, because in these classrooms, this is where we're doing free teachings, some deep dives from our own leadership development training that really are based on this fundamental principle of claiming essential goodness and navigating the survivor self. So in these classrooms, all 4 of them, we'll take deep dives into this dynamic and teach you how to do just that for yourself and others. And from that place, leadership is your natural evolution, right? That's where leaders are born. We'd love to share these gifts with you. I hope you found this valuable, and I hope to see you in the COR Leadership Classroom. See you soon.